A heartwarming story, how a grandmother revealed a life-changing secret after her daughter-in-law discovered a box of letters. On a rainy afternoon, the clouds wept heavy drops, painting the world outside with a somber hue. Inside the cozy confines of Emma's small home, warmth radiated from the kitchen, where the scent of chocolate chip cookies lingered. Emma, a 32-year-old waitress and a tireless single mother, watched her two kids, Lily and Max, tumble through the clutter of their shared living space. The soft hum of laughter filled the air, masking the struggles that hid behind the white picket fence. It had been years since her husband had enlisted and never returned from his deployment. Steady anxiety wove a familiar pattern in Emma's life, stitched together with late-night shifts and early morning breakfasts. Yet, in moments like these, she felt a glimmer of hope. Emma's mother-in-law, Ruth, was her beacon, the grandmother with a sparkle in her eyes who offered wisdom like the most treasured book. But beneath Ruth's buoyant spirit, there lurked an unspoken past, a secret held close since the Great Depression, a truth that felt like a flickering candle in an otherwise dark room. Suddenly, the laughter stopped, replaced by a crescendo of excitement as Lily and Max approached Ruth, clutching a dusty box. The quest to uncover hidden treasures had begun, and their discovery of weathered letters soon transformed their world. They couldn't help but read aloud snippets of Ruth's youth, tales rife with hardship and love torn apart by despair, each word pulling Emma deeper into an uncharted territory of emotion. "Grandma, tell us more," they insisted, eyes wide with curiosity. A hesitant silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken stories. Emma felt a tightening in her chest. Ruth's stories were not just tales, but pieces of a life that had shaped their family. As memories spilled forth, the attic transformed into a portal of the past, revealing the strength woven into the very fabric of their lineage. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tears brimmed in Ruth's eyes as she began to recount a pivotal moment from her youth, something she had buried deep. In that moment, Emma glimpsed not just her mother-in-law, but the complexities of their own lives intertwined in invisible threads of resilience and longing. As Ruth's voice cracked, Emma felt the weight of her own fears. Could she find the courage to stand tall like Ruth had? But just as the floodgates opened, a loud, unexpected knock shattered the atmosphere. Startled, all three looked at each other, questions swirling like leaves in the wind. Who could it be? Could this disruption shift the course of their fragile moment towards healing and understanding? As Emma's gaze shifted to the door, the promise of transformation hung tantalizingly close, and she found herself wondering what revelations lay ahead, waiting to unfold. Emma hesitated for a breath, the knock echoing through her heart. The laughter of Lily and Max faded into an anxious silence. She shared a quick glance with Ruth, whose expression was a blend of apprehension and curiosity. "Should we see who it is?" Emma asked, though she could sense the tension tightening around them, like a spring ready to snap. "Better to find out than to wonder," Ruth replied, her voice steady despite the quivering light in her eyes. Emma nodded, steeling herself for what lay beyond the door. As she crossed the small living room, bracing for the unknown, each step felt heavy. The door creaked open, revealing a figure wrapped in a damp overcoat, water beading on the brim of a well-worn hat. When the figure lifted their head, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Jake. Her husband's brother stood on the porch, dripping wet and wide-eyed, as though he had walked straight out of a storm. He hadn't been seen since that fateful day so many years ago, when the family had been shattered. Emma's heart raced, half with joy, half with caution. "Can I come in?" Jake's voice was hoarse, the weight of years and distance heavy behind it. "Of course," Emma said, her voice trembling. She stepped aside, memories crashing over her, fading only to remind her of the boy she once knew, the boy lost to the world. Lily and Max peeked around their mother's legs, curiosity alight in their innocent eyes. Ruth, too, had turned, and the air was thick with unspoken words as they all took him in. The way his eyes darted to each of them, a flicker of recognition and regret, made Emma's chest ache. Jake stepped inside, shaking off raindrops like a dog emerging from a pond. I heard about Grandma. I wanted to talk to everyone, he said, the tremor in his voice betraying just how vulnerable he felt. What do you mean, talk? Emma asked, trying to keep her mind steady. About what? He swallowed hard, glancing at Ruth, who was watching him with a warmth that could melt glaciers. I know things have been hard. I got your letters, Grandma, it's just I didn't know how to come back. Ruth's expression softened as she approached him, arms outstretched slightly. Jake, honey. Life is too short for this, we need each other now more than ever. Emma felt like she was standing on the edge of a chasm, her heart racing with the possibilities of redemption and healing. However, within her lurked a swirl of apprehension. She wanted to leap towards hope, but shadows from the past whispered caution. Are you here to stay? She asked tentatively, the question feeling like a pebble dropped into deep water, rippling outward. Jake's face fell momentarily, and Emma saw the flicker of conflicts waging behind his eyes. I had to see all of you first, he confessed. There are things I need to say and things I need to resolve. Before Emma could respond, Lily and Max rushed forward, showering Jake with innocent enthusiasm that both surprised and warmed him. The room filled with their chatter, laughter breaking the dam of tension slightly, filling the space with a tentative joy. Emma stepped back, watching Ruth envelop Jake in a hug. She felt a spark in her chest. It was as if this room, once a repository of loss, had transformed into fertile ground for healing. But she couldn't shake a deep-rooted uncertainty. Could the family truly mend from the fractures of the past? Beneath the noise and the warmth, a question lingered in the air. Was this reunion a chance for closure or merely the beginning of even greater turmoil? As Emma stared at Jake, anticipation clawed at her heart. What truth was he hiding, and how would it change everything? Jake stood awkwardly in the middle of the living room, as Lily and Max bustling around him felt like a distant oasis amidst his swirling thoughts. They tugged at his coat, chattering excitedly about school and their favorite cartoons. The innocence of their joy tugged at the remnants of his heart, half-forgotten emotions swimming up from the depths of long-buried memories. How old are you again? Max asked, looking up at him with those wide eyes that reminded Jake so much of his brother, Mike. I'm 30 now, buddy. Old enough to know better, Jake replied, forcing a smile that felt strange on his lips. Do you have a house? Do you have a dog? Lily's questions came pouring out with the excitement only a 7-year-old could muster. Jake opened his mouth, ready to answer. But the truth hung like a weight in the air. He lived in a dingy apartment, alone, no dog to come home to, no family to share his days with. The burden of these half-truths began to claw at him. Not yet. Just figuring some things out, he answered with a practiced nonchalance that felt hollow. Ruth noticed the hesitance in her son's voice. She stepped in, nudging the children aside gently, creating a buffer zone that felt safe, yet charged. Jake, why don't we sit down? Her tone was inviting, but the underlying urgency was noticeable. Yeah, let us talk, Emma added, her heart thumping wildly underlined by a mixture of hope and fear. As they moved to the cozy couch, Jake settled down, his posture tense. The moment felt heavier as he gazed out toward the window, droplets racing each other down the glass as if mirroring his own tumultuous thoughts. Can I ask something? Emma ventured, her voice cutting through the stillness. What happened to you, Jake? Why didn't you come back sooner? The question hung in the air, thickening the already tense atmosphere. Jake felt the weight of the past press down on him, and he turned to meet their questioning gazes. I was scared, he admitted softly. After everything that happened, I didn't know how to face you all. What happened that day? Ruth interjected gently, sensing the need for clarity. Jake took a deep breath, the recollections flooding his mind. It's like I couldn't breathe. I got trapped in my own head, paralyzed by the shame and regret of how things turned out. I thought coming back would just open all those wounds again. Emma felt sickened by his honesty, her heart aching for the boy who had turned into a man filled with self-doubt and sorrow. She clenched her fists, struggling with anger at the boy who could let his fear dictate so much. But then the compassion crashed over her, overriding her frustration. "I wish you hadn't felt you had to bear it alone," she murmured, blinking back tears. I know, and I'm sorry," Jake said, his voice breaking as if the walls he had built so carefully began to crumble. "I'm here now, but what? Could he really dive into the dark spaces of his soul right now?" Emma could see him wrestling with himself, battling to find a balance between vulnerability and the fear of exposing too much too soon. "Maybe you can try again?" Max piped up innocently, hope shimmering in his young voice. Jake's expression shifted as he regarded the little boy whose faith cut through the tension like sunlight. "You really think I can?" "Of course," Lily chimed in, her eyes sparkling with belief. In that moment, Jake realized that he wasn't just facing his own demons, he was surrounded by family willing to fight alongside him. But as he began to think about all he had to say and do, the uncertainty reared its head again. Was he strong enough to confront the past and make changes? "Can we really heal?" Jake asked, vulnerability dripping from his voice as he glanced at the others. A heavy silence followed, thick with tension as they pondered the weight of his question. Emma felt the flicker of hope extinguish a little in her chest. Where would this lead them? As they exchanged glances, a new question loomed: what if mending means facing even deeper truths? A crack in the facade was beginning to show. The shadows of the past were hungry for attention, and Jake's return was just the tip of the iceberg. What lay beneath the surface ready to emerge? Jake shifted in his seat, trying to meet the curious, yet cautious, gazes of those around him. The tension in the room felt like a thick fog, rising up and wrapping around him tightly. Those innocent expressions from Lily and Max, vibrant and hopeful, contrasted so starkly with the weight of his own memories. His thoughts spiraled back to days long gone, memories tainted with regret. How could he let them down? How could he let himself down? The words bubbled up inside him, wanting to be unleashed, yet they felt like venom waiting to poison the sweetness in this moment. "We've all heard in different ways," Ruth finally said, her voice steady but soft. "But we're here now." Jake's heart raced. The warmth in her words was inviting, yet it forced him to face the reality of his absence. He searched for the strength to respond, but the loudest cries in his mind were the ones telling him to retreat, to encapsulate his pain in a self-made cage. "What if I can't fix this?" Jake whispered, barely able to meet Emma's eyes. "What if what I've done it's too much?" "Nothing is too much. We can handle it together," Emma replied, her voice trembling but steadfast. "We want to understand. We want you to trust us." Trust. The word echoed in his mind, bouncing off the walls of his thoughts. What did trust even feel like anymore? A sudden movement brought him back. Max had climbed up onto the couch and was now staring intently at him. "You can tell us anything, right?" he asked, his little voice filled with a sincerity that made Jake's heart clench. "Like a secret?" "Secrets can be scary, but they're better when you share them." The honesty of the child cut through Jake like a sunbeam breaking through the gloom. If only it were that easy. Secrets felt like chains binding him, and the thought of sharing those pieces of himself felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Maybe I can start with something simple," Jake said, feeling the tremors of his emotions begin to simmer just beneath his skin. "What is it?" Lily leaned forward, eyes wide and full of trust. "I've missed you all," he began, bracing himself. "More than you could ever understand. Watching you grow up from a distance it's been painful. I was scared because I couldn't face that pain." And as he spoke, something began to shift within him. The words poured out like a hesitant stream, slowly gaining strength. "I regret leaving when you were all so young. I thought I was protecting myself, but it hurt you more." Emma wiped away stray tears, empathy reflecting in her own eyes. "We needed you, Jake. But we can still learn to be a family again." Jake nodded, feeling more hope thread through the heaviness. "I want to try. I really do." This time, the room felt lighter, as if the shadows were slowly retreating in response to the light they were all desperately trying to create. Let us promise to share more, okay? Max suggested eagerly, his eyes sparkling. Then we can have family game nights and ice cream parties. Lily agreed enthusiastically, bouncing up and down on the couch. Amid their excitement, Jake couldn't help but chuckle a little at the innocence. For the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of warmth spread through him, but just before he could fully bask in the moment, something darker flared up in his chest. What if the truth about why he left came spilling out? What if revealing the whole story broke the fragile bond they were beginning to nourish? What if I'm not the only one with secrets? He said quietly, wondering if that might unravel everything they had just begun to weave together. A hush fell over the room again, the windows rattling with the storm brewing outside. Would he have the courage to face what lay beneath, not just for himself, but for the family he wished to reconnect with? A deeper truth lingered just beneath the surface, waiting. Would it unify them, or tear everything apart? The silence stretched, heavy and electric. Jake could see the glimmer of curiosity mixed with concern in their eyes. Ruth leaned forward, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. What do you mean? She asked gently, urging him to share more. Jake felt the weight of the moment. It struck me, he said slowly. What if there are things I don't know? Secrets you all might be holding, too? The atmosphere shifted. Emma furrowed her brow, and Max looked between them, confusion written across his young face. Secrets aren't just mine to tell, Jake continued. We've all been through so much, and maybe I need to know your stories, too. In that instant, he could feel the tension suffuse into a contemplative silence, each individual processing the weight of Jake's words. What more could they reveal? Would it bring them closer, or only fracture the tender seed of hope they had begun nurturing? I might have something to share, Emma said, her voice shaking slightly. I felt like I'd been hiding all my failures, not just from you, but from myself. You weren't around to see the hard choices I made. Like what choices? Jake asked, leaning in, wanting to absorb every word. After you left, she began, I tried my best to keep things together. School, work. I never said I was okay, but I wasn't scared or sad because I thought I had to be strong for everyone. What if you didn't have to be? Ruth chimed in, almost too softly for Jake to hear. Emma blinked back tears. Maybe I needed you to be there for me, to guide me, to say it was okay to feel lost. Jake's heart raced, the layers of pain unraveling one conversation at a time. You're not alone, Em, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. I wish I could have been your pillar. I want to know everything who you are now, what you've built despite my absence. Lily suddenly chimed in, her enthusiasm surprising in the somber moment. I have things to share too. Like maybe I'm not as sure about my music as I pretend to be. What do you mean? Jake asked, intrigued. I joined a band, she admitted, her cheeks flushing. Even though sometimes during practice, I feel like I'm holding everyone back and scared I'll mess everything up. No one can see you doing your best like that, Jake said firmly. A ripple of warmth spread through him as he saw the initial spark of confidence flicker in Lily's eyes. Max looked puzzled. But why do people hide? Sometimes they don't want to be a burden, Ruth answered matter-of-factly. Or think they must carry it all on their own. Jake could feel the shared empathy humming in the room. It began creeping deeper, wrapping around them, urging vulnerability to take root. Suddenly, there was a loud crack of thunder. Rain pounded against the windows, as if nature itself mirrored the storm of emotions swirling within. Then he heard it, the tiny yet profound truth that shimmered beneath everything he hadn't said yet. I was scared, too, Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. Scared of the choices I made, scared to admit how much I needed each of you. I thought if I left, everyone would be better off. I was wrong. Max's brows knitted in concern. Will this make it worse? No, Jake assured him. It'll let us heal. Together. And as they sat huddled around each other, secrets gradually surfacing one step at a time, Jake wondered what else lay hidden in the depths, waiting to be uncovered. As the storm raged on outside, he realized this shared moment might be the first spark of their renewal, but it only scratched the surface of their tangled hearts. What dark secret were they all hiding that had kept them apart for so long? Jake's mind raced as he pondered the unknown. Would they find a way to reconcile with their truths, or would they uncover something that shattered their fragile beginnings? The thunder rumbled again, echoing the turmoil in the room. Jake felt his pulse quicken. There was still something haunting the air, an unspoken burden that seemed to hang above them like the storm clouds outside. He glanced at Emma, whose eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "What else are we holding back?" he asked gently, wanting to push deeper but not to overwhelm. Ruth glanced around, then took a deep breath. "I think we're all scared to be vulnerable," she admitted, her voice barely audible over the rain. "At some point, I thought we'd grown up and should figure it all out on our own. But we don't have to," Jake replied, encouragingly. "We can lean on each other. Share our fears." This was a pivotal moment, a chance for them to dismantle the walls they'd built. Max, usually the quietest, shifted in his seat and spoke up. "I want to tell you about the times I felt alone. Like in school. Everyone was making friends, and I would just sit there." The tension in the room shifted again. Max's honesty carried weight. They could all relate, the feeling of being on the outside looking in. "It's hard when you think nobody sees you," Lily chimed in. "Like, after the band practices, I sometimes doubt I fit in." Jake felt a surge of emotion. Each of them was peeling back layers, and the storm outside mirrored the vulnerability erupting in their hearts. "What if we made a promise?" he suggested, a flicker of hope igniting. "A promise that we'll communicate instead of hiding away?" Emma nodded slowly. "I like that idea. But it has to be all or nothing. If we're going to do this, we have to be completely honest." "I can do that," Jake said, feeling the weight of his own honesty pressing against him. "I need to tell you something too. About why I left." The room hushed once more, all eyes trained on him. He could hear the rain hammering down, but within that storm, a small quiet space opened up, just for him. "I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because I thought it was the only way to protect you from what I was going through. I thought my struggles would drag you all down." The group exchanged glances, uncertainty thick in the air. But there was also understanding, the kind that breeds compassion. "What was it?" Emma asked, her voice clear but tinged with worry. Jake swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "I lost someone I cared about. It broke me, and I didn't know how to cope. I thought you'd be better off without me, but it only made things worse." Ruth placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You were never a burden, Jake. We're family. We should have been there for each other." A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the room, and for a moment, Jake felt it, the connection deepening among them. They were sharing their truths, despite the fear. "I want to start over," Lily said, her voice now steady. "No more hiding from each other. Can we promise to meet and talk about everything?" The group nodded, a consensus formed in the soft glow of unspoken understanding. Each soul carried its scars, but together they held fragments of hope. Jake smiled, relieved. "Maybe we can turn our own storms into something beautiful." But just as the mood began to shift toward a more positive note, a loud crash rolled through the house. They all jumped, hearts racing. Outside, the wind howled louder, as if warning them of deeper revelations yet to come. Jake took a deep breath, bracing himself. What if the next truth was harder to unveil? What if they discovered something that challenged everything they believed about themselves and each other? "Let us not shy away from what's left unsaid. We're in this together," he urged, wondering what comes next as the storm continued to rage outside. The room felt alive, pulsating with unspoken emotions. The storm outside raged on, but inside, a different kind of tension filled the space. Jake sensed that every eye was still on him, waiting, wondering what he might reveal next. Maybe we should start by talking about what's been eating away at us, Max suggested, his voice steadier now. It was a bold step, pushing everyone to the edge of their comfort zones. I think maybe it's time I say something too, Emma said, her tone wavering but resolute. I've kept things tucked away for too long. In that moment, her vulnerability seeped into the cracks of their shared burden. She took a deep breath. You all know the pressure I put on myself to be perfect, to be the one everyone leans on. But it's exhausting. I'm scared that if I let you see how I really feel, you'll think less of me or worse, I'll lose you. A whirlwind of emotions mustered as she spoke, and Jake noticed the glimmer of understanding exchange in the group. It was a familiar fear. They all knew the weight of expectations. I never thought of it like that. I thought you were invincible, Ruth replied softly, placing her fingertips on the edge of the table. You seemed like the one who had it all figured out. It's the pressure we all feel. Lily leaned in, her cheeks flush with sincerity. If I'm being honest, I feel that way every single day. Like I'm drowning in my own doubts. Sometimes, I look in the mirror and wonder who I am beyond the band and why I can't seem to fit in elsewhere. Jake felt overwhelmed with compassion for his friends. Each confession was a thread in the complex fabric of their lives, weaving a story filled with heartache, laughter, and courage. We all deal with it in different ways, he said gently. But we shouldn't hide. We're fighting the same storm, just taking different routes. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the room again, and this time, it seemed to spark something deeper. Max drew in the group's attention once more. Last year spiraled out of control for me. I felt like I lost my place after the breakup. I thought I'd never recover. I didn't think anyone would understand. But hearing you all speak, maybe I was more blind to your struggles than I realized. The words hung heavy in the air. Each of them was revealing pieces of their past that shaped who they were. It was as if their shared vulnerabilities had carved a path toward honesty, lifting the fog from within. Change happens when we speak up, Jake added, a sense of urgency behind his words. Let us get it all out. We can't change the past, but we can change how we live moving forward. Ruth nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. I think I'm ready to face what I've been hiding as well. My family, well, they're a handful. I often feel like I'm not enough to hold things together, like I'm suffocating. Just then, another ear-splitting crash echoed from outside, shaking the windows. They all jumped again, but instead of fear, a new sense of determination surged through Jake. It feels like the world outside wants to keep us silent. But here, we can rise above it. What if we made an event of it? Emma proposed, a spark in her eyes. A night where we share our stories over dinner, maybe write them down, transforming our struggles into something tangible. That sounds beautiful, Lily said, her voice laced with excitement. Healing through sharing. We could even invite others who feel this way. The room erupted in a rush of ideas, enthusiasm filling the air like the storm outside. It felt good. But as the adrenaline kicked in, Jake noticed a strange stillness creep in. Are we all in? He asked, looking into each friend's eyes, searching for doubt. But instead, he saw affirmation. Their collective courage was palpable, a heartbeat of determination intertwined with the storm's fury outside. Yet, beneath the excitement, Jake felt the undercurrent of something more, a burning question still waiting for its moment. What other surprises lurked beneath the surface of their stories, ready to be unleashed? We're just getting started, he murmured, the thrill of anticipation tingling in the air. The storm had only just begun to reveal its secrets, so too would they. The echoes of excitement still lingered as the group sat, their hearts racing with purpose. Emma's idea hung in the air like the storm clouds outside, dense and electrifying. Each of them understood the gravity of what they were proposing. They had been shackled by their secrets for too long. What if we really do this? Max said, breaking the brief silence. His usually bright demeanor was wrapped in a sense of determination. What if we actually turn this fear into something powerful? We could set up an open mic night or something. Yeah. Like a storytelling night. Lily exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. We could even call it Voices Uncaged. I mean, it feels like we're all ready to break free from whatever has been holding us back. The storm outside rumbled, as if agreeing with her declaration. Ruth looked down, contemplating. But what if no one shows up? What if we put ourselves out there and get rejected? Jake leaned forward, his eyes steady on her. You'll never know unless you try. Besides, we won't be alone. We'll support each other. That's what this is about. It's a journey we're all taking together. He could feel the weight of Ruth's worries, each one a dark cloud gathering above her. But Jake wanted to help her see through it, to the silver lining that glinted just beyond. Emma's hand found Ruth's, squeezing it gently. Remember, this is not about them. It's about us. We'll be telling our truths. Those who need to hear them will come. The hush in the room was comforting, bonding them in an unspoken agreement. It was clear they were all ready to take this leap, to find strength in vulnerability. What's the worst that could happen? Max mused, a playful smile creeping onto his face. We get up on stage, share our hearts, and who knows? Maybe we become the next big thing. It was a light-hearted moment, a buoy amid the heavy emotions. Laughter rippled through the group, pulling them closer together in this moment of shared uncertainty. Then, Jake's expression shifted to one of solemnity. But on a serious note, it's going to take courage. We will need to dig deep, sharing things we've never said out loud. The group exchanged glances, realizing that what was in store was not just a mere exchange of stories. It would mean confronting their past and embracing their fears head-on. Are we ready for that? To expose our truest selves? Jake asked, his voice soft yet filled with gravity. Yeah, I think so, Emma replied, now more certain than before. She looked around at her friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering candlelight. We're stronger together. I believe we can do this. The rain grew heavier outside, creating a steady rhythm that matched the beating of their hearts. Each beat echoed determination, hope, and something more, an unmistakable sense of belonging. As they began discussing logistics, laughter and debate filled the air, drowning out the storm's ferocity. They made plans, set dates, and created an outline for the night. But amid all this excitement, Jake quietly struggled with an inner turmoil. What truth did he have hidden? What burden weighed him down? He would have to face it if he was to be an integral part of this journey. Just as they finished brainstorming ideas, a sudden lightning strike flashed through the window, illuminating Jake's face in stark relief. In that moment, he knew. It was time. Before we wrap up, I need to share something, he finally said, his voice steady despite the sudden tremor inside him. The room fell silent once more, the energy shifting as anticipation took hold. What is it? Ruth urged gently. Jake took a deep breath, feeling every eye on him, searching, waiting. It's something I've kept hidden, tied to my past, and I think it could change everything. As he prepared to speak, the storm outside raged even fiercer, a storm that mirrored the tempest within him. What revelation awaited them all, and how would it alter the bonds they had just begun to strengthen? Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he searched for the right words. The voice of doubt whispered sharply, urging him to back down, but he pressed on. This was it. This was his moment. Growing up, he began, his voice cracking slightly, I was always that kid who felt different. It took me a long time to figure out why. He paused, his gaze drifting to the floor, fixating on the wooden grain, the detailed knots mirroring the complexity of his thoughts. I was bullied, and it made me hide who I really was, who I liked. The room held its breath. Lily shifted forward, her expression filled with support. Emma's hand still rested on Ruth's, intertwining their courage. Jake glanced at them, feeling a mix of gratitude and terror. I'll never forget the day I got a call from my dad. He told me he was proud of me, and it changed everything. But there was a catch, Jake continued. He didn't want my mom to know. He thought it would break her. Max leaned against the back wall, eyes wide, unsure of how to react. My parents always had this perfect image of our family. My mom, she believed in love, acceptance, yet, at the same time, I never felt brave enough to be fully real in front of her. So, I put on a mask. I lied to my family, projecting a version of me that didn't really exist. Jake's voice grew steadier as he spoke, the thunder outside rumbling just a beat behind, almost as if it resonated with his emotions. It's been years of holding on to this secret, living a life that wasn't truly mine. And I guess I've carried that weight for too long. He openly looked at each of his friends, searching their faces for understanding. I need to let go. I want to reclaim my truth, not just for myself, but also for my mom. I need her to know me. And I want to be brave enough starting now. Silence followed his admission, a thick presence that dipped into the depths of their collective fears. Ruth's eyes glistened with unshed tears. What will she say? Ruth asked carefully, her voice barely above a whisper, echoing Jake's own inward fears. I don't know, Jake admitted, the uncertainty gnawing at him. But I can't keep hiding. It's like building walls around myself, it's exhausting. And I want to break through, even if it hurts. Emma squeezed Ruth's hand, nodding in agreement with Jake. We're here for you. Always. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. The weight of the moment hung in the air, palpable and heavy. The storm outside reached a crescendo as the rain cascaded against the window. Stray flashes of lightning painted the room in stark contrast, the light illuminating their faces, the dark trapping their fears. Max finally spoke, his voice earnest. This is important, Jake. For all of us. You're being brave, and that kind of vulnerability is true strength. Slowly, they all began to nod. One by one, the fears that had kept them silent were being lifted, revealing a courage they hadn't fully understood until now. I can't wait for, voices uncaged, Lily declared, a flicker of hope igniting as she shifted the energy in the room. It'll be a safe space. And Jake, sharing your truth is what it means to set yourself free. We'll lead by your example. I hope my story can help others, Jake said softly, feeling a wind of a new resolve begin to fill the room. He had taken the first step, and while many questions loomed ahead about his mother, about acceptance, something new glimmered in the atmosphere, a fierce loyalty among friends. As the group moved on to discuss how to promote voices uncaged, excitement began to pulse again. But the euphoria was tempered by realization. Jake's heart still hung heavy, waiting for more words to fall. What other truths remained submerged within him, waiting for their moment? And would his mother embrace the authenticity he yearned to reveal? As the wind howled outside, the greatest storm had yet to break, and Jake felt the pull of the unknown looming larger than ever. The storm outside raged as fierce as the emotions inside the cozy living room. Rain hammered against the windows, yet within the walls, warmth and camaraderie replaced the chill of fear. Jake's admission hung in the air, vibrating with unspoken truths yet to be voiced. Emma's heart pounded with a mix of hope and dread. Could Jake still feel that same warmth from family, despite the walls he had built? The look in Ruth's eyes mirrored her own uncertainty, yet she felt an overwhelming urge to hold on to the moment. Lily broke the silence first, determination blazing in her eyes. We're in this together, she stated, a spark lighting the room. Just like ice cream on a hot day, this brings sweetness. Max piped up, and families can be messy. Just like chocolate chip cookies, sometimes they break. Emma chuckled through her tears. The innocence of their children reminded her of the joy that had been buried under layers of pain for too long. Jake smiled, feeling a warmth seep into the cracks of his heart. I want to be there for this family. I want to call you my family for real. In that moment, the tremors of fear morphed into a flicker of purpose. Voices uncaged is for all of us, he said, looking at each member of the family. Let us promise to share everything, even the things that scare us. That's how we heal. Ruth nodded vehemently, tears in her eyes. And I want to share my heart too. There's a history that needs uncovering, wounds that have not yet been tended. The room quieted, the atmosphere thick with the weight of her words. Can we all do that? Emma asked, her voice soft yet firm. A mixture of fear and excitement danced in the air. This was a moment of reckoning, an opportunity for healing, and she could feel the pulse of unity gathering strength. With renewed resolve, they started sharing stories of heartbreak, vulnerability, and the importance of connection. The room became a haven of intimacy, laughter sprinkled with tears that fell freely, like rain offering nourishment to roots that had been parched for far too long. The storm outside seemed to rage on, but the family felt grounded within the eye of their emotional tempest. They spoke about their unsaid fears, childhood struggles, insecurities, moments of feeling unseen. Each revelation became another piece to the jagged puzzle of their lives, interlocking to form a beautiful picture of resilience. "I've hidden behind my grades and achievements," Emma confessed, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought that being the strong one meant I had to carry everything alone. But it wore me down. I need help. I need you." Her admission sparked a round of tears, but through it all, it felt lighter. Jake glanced at Emma, a newfound understanding settling in his heart. "You've never been alone. We'll stand together now, through all of it," he said, reaching for her hand across the couch. "I think we should keep meeting like this, sharing, growing," Lily added, her voice ringing with excitement. "Let us take it beyond our living room. If we're brave enough, we can open our voices uncaged to everyone." The spark of ambition caught fire, filling the space with infectious enthusiasm. Emma nodded. "Yes. Local coffee shops, parks, even online. Everyone loves a good story, and truth can transform lives. I want us to connect with others who feel just like us." Jake felt immense pride swell in his chest. He saw their family evolving before his eyes, renewed purpose stitching them closer together, bound not just by blood, but by stories shared and burdens lifted. As the rain began to ease outside, there was a sense that the storm had released its grip, just as they would release their fears. They were stronger now, leaning into one another with unyielding dependency. "This is just the beginning," he murmured. "When we share our stories, we create a mosaic of hope." With laughter echoing between them and the storm DJing its final song, they began discussing how their storytelling night would unfold, formats, themes, and inviting their friends. Ideas bounced around the room energetically, filled with a passionate hope that felt almost palpable. "Shall we commit to this together, right now?" Jake asked, scanning the faces around him. "To take the leap and turn our hurt into something beautiful?" They all nodded, hands reaching out, interlocking like a chain of unity. Just a simple gesture, but one that signified a heartfelt promise. "Let us make this happen," Emma said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Together." They echoed, voices blending into a chorus fueled by determination. As if reflecting their unity, the storm clouds shifted, revealing a glimmer of sunlight through the tempest. And in that moment, something extraordinary unfolded in the hearts of this once fragmented family. They had each taken a step towards finding their voices, and together with echoes of laughter and love echoing through the stormy night they found hope. This family, grown through turmoil, was now embarking on a journey towards healing and transformation. And there was a universal truth in that: facing fears and embracing each other with unconditional love was the most potent story they could ever tell. Make sure your story joins theirs. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories featuring courage and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is essential. Comment below your reactions, your feelings about the ending, and share a piece of your own story with us. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know how important it is to keep the fire of hope alive.